Hello there, it's Terry here. I am so glad that you are here. Today, I will be sharing a die cut only card using products from Cottage Cuts. Let's get started. Here are the supplies that I use for this card. The dies that I use are from Santa's Delivery, Penguin Decorating Tree, Thinking of You Sentiment, and some dies from the Basic Collection. I also use a background cleaning stamp, anti-static powder bag, clear embossing ink, clear embossing powder, Nuvo crystal glaze, Nuvo drops, snow marker, Copic markers, and distress oxide inks in the colors Salty Ocean and Salvage Patina. To start off, I went ahead and colored in the images from the die cuts. I will be using the penguin and the presents from Penguin Decorating Tree die, as well as the presents from Santa's Delivery die. All of the colors of the markers that I use will be listed down below. When die cutting lots of small pieces, I like using double-sided sticky sheets on one side of my cardstock. It helps hold the pieces in place during die cutting. It also helps with coloring, especially with Copic markers. I have a hard time coloring small pieces, and doing this helps keep everything intact. When I'm coloring, I like to use at least 3 markers, so 3 colors in the same color family. So you'll have a dark tone, you'll have a mid-tone, and also a lighter tone. After I popped out all the pieces, I then adhered everything together with liquid adhesive. Now for the background. I used the nested stitch scallop rectangle set and die cut that twice out of white cardstock. One for the background and one will get cut down later. Now using my blending brush, I started off with Salty Ocean on one side of the cardstock and then Salvage Patina on the other side. And then for the middle, I like to go back and forth between colors to create an even blend. The cool thing about hybrid inks is that it reacts with water. So I spritzed some water onto my hand and flicked it onto my card front. This will create a neat oxidation effect on the inked background. It's such an easy way to add additional interest to the card front. Now for the second scallop rectangle piece. I created the snow slopes by using a hillside border die from my stash. Okay, now for the layering piece. I am using a Christmas background cling stamp and stamping this down onto red cardstock using a clear embossing ink. If you don't have a background cling stamp, you can create your own by stamping a Christmas sentiment multiple times on the cardstock. It's like creating your own pattern paper in a sense. If you want to see a video on this, please leave a comment below and I can create one to share. Also, the clear embossing ink that I am using is Versamore ink. This has to be one of my favorite inks to use to clear emboss because the formula is so sticky that it holds onto the embossing powder quite well. Now I am applying a clear embossing powder onto my card front. After heat setting, I then use a rectangle die to cut down the cardstock. Hero Arts Infinity die has to be one of my most used dies of all time. It's the perfect rectangle basics because it comes with so many different sizes. So here is everything you would need to assemble the card. The red cardstock with the background stamp, the 2 scallop pieces, one that has been inked blend and one that has been cut down with the hillside border die, the color images, and Thinking of You sentiment. For the sentiment die, I did cut that out twice and glued the layers together off scene. I like doing this because it gives some dimension to the card front. Now it's time to put everything together. Using liquid adhesive, I adhered the snow slope to the bottom of the inked blended panel. Then using foam tape, I applied that to the back of the panel. I will then adhere this to the red layering rectangle. I then adhered the sentiment on the upper right hand area and glued the penguin down standing on the snow slope. I also thought it would be fun to tuck one of the gifts underneath his arm. For the presents, I alternated between liquid adhesive and foam tape. I like how that created a little bit of interest to the scene. And to jazz up the scene a little further, I used a snow marker to add dimensional snow on the snow slopes and in the sky. This snow marker is magical for Christmas. It creates such a nice snow effect with so little effort. Definitely something to have in your stash when making Christmas cards. Now for the card base. I am using a top folding card base that measures 4¼ inches by 5½ inches. And then I use Nuvo drops to dot the letter I on the sentiment. For a little more texture, I applied a small fuzzy pom-pom ball on the tip of the penguin Santa hat. And now the final touches. Using Nouveau Glaze, I applied that over the entire sentiment. I like doing this because it creates a nice glossy finish. And there you have it. The card is now complete. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. Please subscribe to get notified of any upcoming videos. Have a wonderfully blessed day. Bye-bye.